There's a quiet truth about life that you don't really understand until you stop trying to bend it to your will. The moment you stop fighting so hard to make things happen, something incredible starts to unfold. Everything you were chasing begins to turn and move toward you. It's not a miracle and it's not luck. It's simply how energy works when you stop getting in your own way. When you're clinging too tightly, when every thought screams, "This has to work," your energy becomes rigid. You block the very flow that's supposed to carry what you want to you. It's like trying to hold a butterfly in a closed hand. The tighter you grip, the more you crush what was meant to land gently. Think about the times you were desperate for love, approval, a chance, a break. The harder you pushed, the more it seemed to slip away. But then came that day when you sighed and said, "I'm done forcing it." And somehow things started aligning. People appeared out of nowhere. Paths you didn't even know existed opened right in front of you. That wasn't coincidence. That was alignment. Because when you release the need to control every detail, your energy shifts from tension to trust. And trust has always been more magnetic than fear. When you need something to happen, you're sending out the signal that you don't believe it will. But when you're calm, grounded, and open, your energy says, "I already have everything I need. Anything more is just a bonus." That's the point where life stops resisting and starts responding. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means you stop wrestling with life and finally let it do what it's been trying to do all along, work for you, not against you. Every time you try to control the outcome, it's because of fear. Fear that things won't happen the way you hope. Fear that you'll fail. Fear that if you stop pushing, everything will collapse. But life doesn't work through pressure, it moves through flow. Have you noticed how the most meaningful moments never come from overplanning? They arrive in the spaces between when you're laughing, when you're present, when you forget to check your watch. The best friendships? You didn't script them. The biggest opportunities? They showed up when you were focused on living, not proving. The memories that made you feel alive? You didn't chase them, you found yourself in them. That's because life doesn't respond to the noise of effort. It responds to the calm of energy. When you're at peace within yourself, when you stop broadcasting desperation, you become magnetic. And when you're magnetic, you don't have to chase. You attract. Most people don't realize this. The tighter you chase certainty, the more confusion you invite. When you demand answers right now, when you insist on clarity the second, you block the very wisdom life is trying to send you. Because life is not a straight line. It's intelligent, unpredictable, beautifully messy. It's weaving together people, opportunities, and moments you can't yet see. But if you're obsessed with one specific outcome, you'll miss the better ones that were meant for you all along. Ever had something fall apart and thought, "This is it, I've lost everything"? And months later, you realized that collapse was actually the beginning of something better? That's not random. That's life rearranging things so they can fall into place instead of apart. When you stop forcing, you create room for something better to find you. Trust doesn't mean sitting still and waiting. It means showing up fully, without the panic of needing everything to unfold exactly how you imagined. It's walking forward with open hands instead of clenched fists. And when you live that way, people feel it. Your calm draws them in. Opportunities flow to you with less resistance. You stop swimming upstream, and suddenly life starts carrying you downstream. Gently, effortlessly, almost magically. The energy of trust doesn't push, it pulls. It doesn't scream, it invites. That's why the people who seem the most lucky aren't actually lucky. They're aligned. They've learned to stop forcing timelines and start trusting timing. Here's the truth. Most of us were taught to trust fear more than flow. From childhood, we were told to prepare for failure, to expect disappointment, to always have a backup plan. So when life asks us to trust, it feels terrifying, like standing in midair with nothing to hold on to. But here's the twist, you've been standing in midair the whole time. None of it was ever in your control. The plans, the timelines, the overthinking, they only created the illusion of safety. Real safety isn't about control. It's about adaptability. It's learning to surf the waves instead of trying to drain the ocean. It's realizing that life was never meant to be predictable. It was meant to be participated in. When you start trusting, you don't stop dreaming. You just stop suffocating your dreams with fear. You stop forcing what was always meant to flow. And you start to understand something life-changing. What's truly yours can't be lost. And what's not meant for you can't be held, no matter how tight your grip. Everything you're trying to force right now, every situation, every person, every goal you're clutching in panic, you're actually blocking with your fear. The second you loosen your hand, breathe, and whisper, "I trust where this is taking me," things start moving. Not because you gave up, but because you got in sync. And suddenly, everything becomes softer, easier, lighter. Because now, you're not wrestling with the current, you're moving with it. What most people call struggle isn't about doing the wrong thing. It's about doing it with tension. It's about fear disguised as ambition. It's that quiet panic that says, if I don't make this happen, I'll lose everything. And so you push harder, tighten up, chase results, panic when things don't move fast enough. But life doesn't answer panic. It answers presence. When you act from fear, you build resistance. But when you act from trust, you build momentum. You've seen it before. That one person who doesn't seem to try so hard, yet everything falls into place for them. They're not lucky. They're relaxed. They're in tune with their energy. They trust themselves. They trust life. And that kind of energy, calm, confident, open, pulls in opportunities like gravity. You don't need to be someone new. You just need to let go of the version of you that's trying to control every second. You need to remember that you're already enough, even without everything figured out. Because the moment you stop gripping life by the throat, it starts embracing you back. The less you worry, the more you receive. The less you chase, the more you attract. The less you force, the more you grow. It's not about effort, it's about alignment. You don't have to run faster. You just have to move differently. You become calmer, wiser, more powerful. Not because you controlled everything, but because you finally trusted that you didn't have to. Here's the paradox that almost nobody tells you. The moment you stop forcing life to bend to your timeline, things start falling into place faster than you could have planned. You can grind for years trying to make something happen and still feel like you're stuck. But then one day you loosen your grip and suddenly everything you were chasing starts coming toward you. It feels unfair at first. You think, how can doing less bring me more? But it's not about doing less. It's about acting from a different energy. When your actions come from peace instead of panic, they carry a different vibration. People feel it. Life feels it. When you're desperate, no matter how calm you sound, the energy underneath still whispers, "Please let this work out." And that energy repels what you want. But when you act from trust, when you don't depend on the outcome to define your worth, you move differently. You speak differently. You walk into every situation grounded instead of grasping. That's when people start to notice something's changed. They can't put their finger on it, but they can feel it. It's the kind of energy that says, I don't chase, I attract. I don't beg, I allow. And that subtle difference shifts everything. Because the truth is, life mirrors you. If you're full of doubt, it will hand you situations that test that doubt. But if you move with quiet confidence, if you live as though you already trust that life is working in your favor, it starts aligning everything to prove you right. It's like having a silent agreement with the universe. I'll keep showing up, and you'll keep guiding me. You don't wake up panicking about when things will happen anymore. You wake up curious, excited, at peace, because you know they're already on their way. That's what real alignment feels like. You stop carrying the heavy weight of needing things to happen now. You stop measuring your progress by how quickly things arrive. You start realizing that everything meant for you is already in motion, and your only job is to stay open enough to receive it. That's where the real winners live, not in the grind of control, but in the rhythm of trust. You trust that delays are setups. You trust that rejections are redirections. You trust that what's yours will always find a way to you, even if it's taking the scenic route. Most people never discover that trust is the secret advantage they've been searching for all along. They spend years trying to control every variable, never realizing that control is just fear in disguise. But when you trust, life expands. It starts building bridges you didn't even know existed. You stop forcing timelines that were never meant for you. Because here's something we forget. Speed means nothing if you're running in the wrong direction. Everyone wants fast success, fast love, fast answers. But fast doesn't always mean right. Sometimes the best things need time to mature, to align, to prepare you for what you're asking for. Trust gives things space to form naturally, not under the pressure of your impatience, but under the wisdom of divine timing. Because what you force often breaks, but what you trust often builds itself stronger than you could have ever planned. Think about the turning points in your life, the moments that truly changed everything. Did they happen exactly when or how you expected? Probably not. They came when you least expected them. That friendship you stumbled into, that opportunity that showed up uninvited, that random moment that ended up shaping your future. That's how life works. It's less about chasing and more about aligning. Less about forcing and more about allowing. When you stop demanding, "Where is it? Why isn't it here yet?" and start whispering, "I'm ready whenever you are," something shifts. Because life isn't ignoring you, it's preparing you. There's a rhythm to your existence that's much bigger than the deadlines you've set in your head. When you step into that rhythm, you stop interrupting your blessings with fear. You stop rushing into places you were never meant to be. You stop shrinking every time things don't go according to your script. You begin to let life surprise you. And in that surrender, you find peace, not because everything's perfect, but because you finally trust that even the unseen forces are working in your favor. When you start living from that place, people can feel it. There's a calmness about you that doesn't make sense. You're no longer running on anxiety or panic. You're grounded, steady, certain. People see that and they wonder what changed. But you'll know it wasn't luck. It wasn't magic. It was trust. The kind of trust that says, "I don't chase, I align. I don't force, I flow. I don't panic, I prepare." That's when life stops feeling like a fight and starts feeling like a conversation. A back and forth between you and something bigger, something that's been guiding you all along. And the more you listen, the more you start realizing you're not falling behind. You're not missing out. You're right on time. In a world that's obsessed with the next big thing, real peace is learning to breathe again, to slow down enough to hear your own rhythm. Because the truth is, most people are chasing noise. They mistake speed for progress. But real progress happens quietly, in moments of trust, in moments of surrender, in the space between effort and ease. When you start trusting life, you begin to notice small miracles everywhere. That message you stopped waiting for suddenly appears. That door you thought was closed opens wider than before. That dream you let go of returns. But now it fits better than ever. That's what happens when you trust instead of force. Life rewards the ones who make space for it. Not the ones who cling, not the ones who panic, but the ones who breathe, who trust, who move in calm confidence. It's strange, but it's real. The less you obsess, the faster things unfold. The less you control, the more aligned everything becomes. Because when you're not operating from fear, you radiate something rare, something people and opportunities are drawn to. That's why those who've learned to trust always seem to have that unshakable calm. They don't rush, they don't beg, they just know. And that could be you starting today. If you're tired of living in survival mode, tired of chasing and forcing, then maybe it's time to experiment with something different. Try trust, try alignment, try calm action. Because life isn't punishing you, it's preparing you. And the second you realize that, everything starts to feel a little lighter. Your next chapter doesn't start when you push harder. It starts the moment you exhale and finally believe you're exactly where you're meant to be. Let's bring this closer to real life. Because this isn't just some spiritual idea floating in the clouds. This is about you. It's about the way you wake up in the morning, the way you handle your dreams, your relationships, your work, and the weight you carry on your shoulders every day. You might not even notice it, but most of us are living in a constant state of tension. We're trying to make things happen faster, trying to push people to see our value, trying to prove we're enough, trying to chase what we think will finally make us happy. And in that chase, we forget how to live. We think peace comes after we reach our goals. But the truth? Peace is the thing that gets you there. When you start trusting life, your entire energy shifts. You stop waking up anxious about what you can't control. You stop checking your phone every 5 minutes for validation. You stop comparing your timeline to someone else's highlight reel. You start breathing again because you finally understand that what's meant for you doesn't need you to fight for it. It needs you to receive it. This doesn't mean you stop working. It means you start working differently. You work with life, not against it. You move with clarity instead of panic. You still show up, still take action, but you do it from a place of alignment, not fear. Imagine this: 2 people are climbing the same mountain. One is stressed, rushing, constantly afraid of falling. The other moves at the same pace, but with calm steps, enjoying the view. Same mountain, different energy. Guess who reaches the top in better shape? That's what trusting life feels like. It doesn't mean you don't climb. It means you stop turning every step into a struggle. And here's the funny part. The moment you stop forcing, the universe starts sending you the right kind of people, the right opportunities, the right timing. Because your energy becomes clear enough to attract what matches it. The people who truly belong in your life won't require chasing. The opportunities that are truly aligned with you won't need begging. They'll fit effortlessly because they're vibrating at the same frequency as your calm, grounded energy. When you operate from peace, you stop confusing movement with progress. You stop confusing urgency with purpose. And suddenly, everything becomes simpler. You don't have to figure everything out today. You just have to trust that the next step will appear when it's time. Because trust is not waiting, trust is moving forward without fear. It's walking through uncertainty with your heart open instead of your fists clenched. Look back on your life for a second. Every chapter that brought you somewhere amazing, didn't it start with something uncertain? A risk? A loss? A decision that scared you, but deep down you knew it was right? That's how life works. The best things grow in uncertainty. So if you're in a season of waiting, a season of confusion, a season where nothing seems clear, don't rush it. Don't let fear convince you you're behind. You're not behind. You're becoming. Every pause has a purpose. Every delay is protecting you from something that's not ready yet, or maybe something you're not ready for yet. When you trust, you stop trying to outsmart timing. You stop thinking you know better than the plan that's unfolding. You stop begging for doors that are closed, and instead, you prepare for the ones that are about to open. That's what living in alignment means. You stop chasing every maybe, and you start aligning with your meant to be. And once you live like that, everything changes. You stop measuring your worth by outcomes. You stop needing constant proof that things are working. You start moving through life with a quiet kind of confidence. Not loud, not forced, just calm certainty. That's the kind of energy that changes everything. Because life doesn't reward the loudest voice in the room. It rewards the clearest signal. So if you're tired of feeling like you're always pushing, always chasing, always coming up short, take a deep breath. Step back for a second. You don't need to prove anything anymore. You just need to align. Start trusting that the things meant for you are already moving toward you, even if you can't see them yet. When you stop panicking, when you stop forcing, when you stop fighting against your own flow, the current of life starts carrying you exactly where you're meant to go. And here's the most powerful part. When you live this way, you become someone else's reminder. People will look at you and say, there's something different about them. It's not that you have it all figured out. It's that you finally stopped trying to control what was never yours to control. And in that surrender, you found freedom. You found peace. You found trust. So if you're listening to this right now and you feel like you've been stuck, like you've been trying so hard to make life move, let this be your reminder. Maybe it's time to stop pushing and start aligning. Because the life you're dreaming of isn't hiding from you. It's waiting for you to slow down enough to meet it halfway. When you trust the timing, when you trust yourself, when you trust that everything is unfolding for you, not to you, you start living differently. Calmer, softer, stronger. And from that space, everything you were chasing will begin to chase you. So, if this message resonates with you, if you're ready to live in alignment instead of anxiety, write the word trust in the comments below. Let's see how many of us are done chasing and ready to start aligning. Because your next chapter doesn't begin with more effort. It begins with more trust. And maybe that's exactly the shift you've been waiting for all along. You've spent so much of your life trying to make things happen, trying to prove you're worthy, trying to earn love, success, peace, as if life were keeping score. But maybe it's not about earning anymore. Maybe it's about allowing, because when you stop running, you start hearing. When you stop chasing, you start seeing. And when you finally stop controlling, life begins to unfold the way it always wanted to. The truth is, you were never behind. You were never late. Every pause, every heartbreak, every detour, it was all part of your alignment. Life wasn't punishing you. It was preparing you to receive what you once weren't ready to hold, preparing you to stand in the peace you once didn't know how to feel. So if you're still waiting for something, love, clarity, a sign that you're on the right path, this is it. This is the sign. Breathe. You're exactly where you're meant to be. You don't have to force the next chapter. You just have to show up with faith, with openness, with calm hands instead of clenched fists. Because what's meant for you won't miss you. Not when you're aligned, not when you're ready, not when you've learned to trust the process. Every moment you choose peace over panic, you're rewriting your energy. You're teaching the universe that you're ready, not desperate, not impatient, just ready. And that kind of energy, it moves mountains. So maybe tonight, instead of asking, when will it happen? Ask something softer. How can I trust life a little more today? Because peace doesn't come when everything's perfect. It comes when you finally stop fighting what is and start flowing with what could be. You're not running out of time. You're right on schedule. And every step you take, even the uncertain ones, are leading you exactly where you're meant to go. If this message found you today, it's because something in you already knew it was time. Time to let go. Time to trust. Time to stop surviving and start living. So exhale. Let the weight drop from your shoulders and walk forward, not with fear, but with faith, because everything that's meant for you is already on its way.